So as we say pretty much all the time on this channel, running a business is incredibly tough, but here's some business stats that will probably shock you and remind you that you're not doing as bad as you think. The average annual net profit for an SME is only £13,000. So this was a stat that actually really shocked me. So a small business is up to 50 employees and a medium business is, I think, 50 to 250 or 249 employees. Now they can still do, I think, up to 40 or 50 million revenue, whatever the categories are for that. But £13,000, £13,000 is a crazy small number. If you think about, first of all, the average salary in the UK, so the average profit is like half of the average salary in the UK. And this is the realization for a lot of business owners, that they are running on such fine margins, like a 10% increase here and there. National minimum wage increases. I'm not against national minimum wage increases, but those kind of things really, really do impact a business. And you can see how very quickly a business can actually go bust. One client project, or for us, maybe three projects would maybe total that £13,000, 3 or 4 projects. It doesn't take much for 3 or 4 projects to be cancelled. So that is a worryingly low number. One of my absolute favourite stats, although it is a bit sad, almost 20% of businesses fail within their first year. Now for me, there's many reasons that this happens. I think the main one is that on day one of starting a business, the harsh reality hits that it's not what you thought it was going to be. The more freedom, time, money, flexibility, all of those things you absolutely have none of. And people realise how tough running a business actually is. It takes so much time, so much effort, so much just repeated effort, energy, money going in for years and years and years before you normally do see, the sort of overnight success that the outside world sees. It is incredibly difficult. And I actually think the fact that anybody can start a business is amazing. I started my business with zero business knowledge. Marketing and creativity and video and ideas, yes, I had all of that, I think. But running a business, numbers, accountancy, bookkeeping, the actual crux and, bean counting of running your business to make sure that you don't run out of money, I wasn't very good at that. And only now have I learned the skills and learned to prioritize looking at those numbers. This is a stat that I never grow tired of telling people. So only 25% of businesses, so 1 in 4 businesses, will ever go on to hire their first employee. So going through these stats, this was actually one that gave me a little bit of an ego boost, so I can say I'm in the top 25% of businesses, because a couple of years ago I did actually make my first hire. And I think a lot of business owners struggle to see employees as a investment or a salary as an investment. They do see it as an expense, because it is an expense on your accounting, obviously. But the importance I've realised of a team and amazing people, and Jono over here included, is such a massive difference. The first 4 or 5 years of being a freelancer was just absolute hell, trying to run all of that by myself and wondering why I was getting absolutely nothing done. And then now there's only 4 of us. Now we're still a small business, really small team, but the difference has been incredible. So for some business owners, if you are having that debate of should I actually make my first hire, have a look at the numbers first of all, make sure you can actually do it. Get yourself 2 or 3 months salary in the bank and absolutely go for it. Another one of my favorite business stats, although it is fairly depressing, around 50% of businesses fail within their first 5 years of starting out. And I think this comes down to the similar stat of businesses failing within 1 year. People just have this reality hit that it was not what they imagined. And 5 years into running your business, 3 years in, 4 years into running your business, you might just keep thinking, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. And then year number 3, 4, 5 hits and you think, you know what, I would have been so much better off just having a normal job, a normal life, a normal work-life balance, a social life, and not running this business. And then people will give up. There's always the financials and all the things that play into it. But honestly, at year 5, I genuinely looked and thought, is this what I want to be doing? We struggled so much to even get a mortgage on a house. All the things that is against you as a business owner, as a freelancer. I just sat and thought, should I actually just give this up? And then 2 years later, the business is probably in the best spot that it's ever really been in. Whether I'm in the best spot I've ever really been in, I don't know. But 5 years is a long time to wait out for your business to kind of turn around and see the benefits of your work, but when you do, it's absolutely worth it. Only 48% of businesses will actually hit the VAT threshold, which is £90,000. Now, this was another stat that gave me a little ego boost, so now I can say I'm in the top 48% or the top 50% of businesses. But it was one that sort of blew my mind, because there are so many businesses out there when you think, if you just named every business that you possibly think of, and then you realize that if you double that and double the amount of businesses, you have so many people that either are just running by themselves or maybe it's a small team not hitting that £90,000. And I think that is just a reality that we need to get across almost in the UK and probably most of the world when it comes to businesses. People think that they need to be doing minimum 6 figures, 7 figures, 8, 9, 10 figures, literally running billion-dollar companies before anybody even realizes who they are. If you make £90,000 in the UK revenue, not what you keep, not profit, if you just make £90,000 in the UK, you are in the top 48% of businesses. You're in the top half. And I think this is a really good reality check across majority of the business world. The average business owner works the equivalent of 2,000 hours overtime per year. Now, I've tried to break down the numbers on this. 2,000 hours of overtime per year equates to 38 hours per week. Now, that's overtime. So if you're already doing a 40-hour week and then 38 hours overtime, I can believe it, because that is absolutely me and my week every single week. But I wonder what business owners they've actually got, because I don't know if every business owner or the average business owner is working 80 or 78 hours per week. I know I certainly am, or I'm working a little bit more. I imagine they've done some sort of survey, and much like me, everybody's probably exaggerated and gone, oh, I do 100 hours overtime per week, or I work 50 hours a day. Maybe that's where they've got those numbers from. However, I can absolutely believe it. And that's one of the other realities. People think they're going to set up a business to have more time, freedom, flexibility, and loads of days off and a holiday for every week of the year. And it's just so far from the truth. Now, I absolutely love this stat. Small businesses make up 99.2% of all businesses in the UK. So less than 1% is made up by a non-small business or a business bigger than a small business. So 99.2% made up of small businesses, which is under 50 employees, and whatever the revenue number is in millions, I can't quite remember. But that is a significant statistic. And actually, when we do talk about economics and governments and policies, that is the main crux of pretty much every government around the world needs to support small businesses where possible. Because as we see from many, many other stats, their end of years, their net profits, all of those numbers, business owners don't make as much money as people think. There are some that are doing amazing, but the average really, really is struggling. The average age of a startup business owner is 35 years old. Now, I absolutely love this stat because it smashes to pieces the image of an Instagram millionaire trying to sell you a course on how to grow a 6-figure or 7-figure startup within 6 months, normally around AI or selling some other bullshit course. I love this stat because most people think if by 21 or by 25 or 30, they haven't set up a business, that it's too late. 35 is the average age of a startup business owner. You can be into your 40s, 50s, 60s, still set up an incredibly new business and run it and grow it incredibly well. One of my all-time favorite business statistics, the average annual turnover for a small business is £70,000. Now, first of all, a small business is defined by less than 50 employees and under £10 million in revenue. So if you think of all the businesses, under 50 employees, less than £10 million of revenue, majority of them still won't have even hired their first employee, and majority of them, as we see here, will be under the VAT threshold because the average is £70,000. The average, so if I'm right, more than half is going to be below 70, below the VAT threshold, which is £90,000 here in the UK. And I think this stat just obliterates this idea that business owners start a business, they run a business, and they just automatically make lots and lots of money. It's also the idea that gets people into starting a business. And there will be people turning £70,000 in this stat that still have employee salaries to take out of that. Incredibly, incredibly tough. And I think anybody doing close to this number, and certainly anybody above this number, you need to give yourself a big pat on the back and realize what you've actually achieved. Only 0.8% of all businesses have 50 or more employees. So this is 0.8% of businesses across the UK. 0.8, less than 1%, are actually classed as a medium business. 99.2% of businesses across the UK, of all the businesses, are actually classed as small businesses. Now, when we talk about businesses and business owners, very quickly we can start talking about millions. We can start talking about numbers in the millions. We see things online, they're talking about millions of pounds of revenue, millions of dollars of profit, and yet 0.8% of businesses will be doing over 10 million. A medium business is doing more than 10 million in revenue or up to 250 employees. This stat shows that to do £10 million a year, which we throw this number around on Instagram and social media as if it's nothing, as if 10 million is the standard, you would be in the top 1%. That is absolutely crazy. We need a huge reset and shift on what 10 million or even £1 million and dollars even looks like within business. 91% of all businesses will not or never hit £1 million of revenue in their lifetime. This again just backs up the fact that when we're talking about businesses online and on social media, we throw the number 1 million around as if it is absolutely nothing. Literally, if you hit £1 million of revenue at any point in your lifetime, you're in the top 10%, top 9% of businesses, which is just absolutely crazy to think. We've seen so many stats that the average business is only turning over £70,000. It would take them literally 15 years, 20 years, whatever the number would be, to hit anywhere close to that 1 million, let alone doing £1 million in a year. And we talk about doing £1 million a month on Instagram and social media as if it is so easy to do. Remember that if you're seeing people post about those numbers, most of the time they're asking you to click a link in their bio, which is to sell you a course on how to sell other people courses through absolute sheer lies. Now, this is a stat I can absolutely believe and I can say is true at the moment. 40% of business owners are earning less than when they were employees. So many people jump ship from being in a stable, steady job, which probably gave them work-life balance. Yes, they may have had a boss or a manager that was a bit of a dick and they didn't like them. And then they've jumped ship to build their own business because they think that it's going to give them more money and live this dream lifestyle. And actually, they're earning less than when they had their job. And that is one of the main reasons that we see businesses failing within the first year, 3 years, 5 years, is they're always looking back at the job that they left and they're looking at the salary that they once had, the guaranteed income that they once had, the holidays that they once had, the work-life balance, the social life, the time to just say no to work and switch off. All of that goes when you're running a business. And then to earn less than when you were an employee, and more likely as you start employing people, earning less than your actual employees themselves, it can be a really I don't know if sad is the right word, but just challenging reality to deal with. Around 50% of business owners earn less than minimum wage. Now, if this is HMRC telling us this data, I can imagine that the numbers are a little bit skewed by the time everybody, says that they've earned a little bit less than what they actually have. However, for the majority of people, this actually is absolutely true. And for the first year of being a freelancer, I definitely earned less than minimum wage because I had no idea what I was doing and charging like £10 for a video. And most business owners face this reality. We've just talked about people leaving a job and then starting a business and realizing they actually earned more when they were an employee. And especially if you're earning less than minimum wage, it's a harsh reality to then look around everybody else, people with jobs, maybe if you have employed people, and seeing everyone earning more than you, and you've just got to kind of wait it out in the hope, or deep down if you know, that you will one day see all of that hard work and sacrifice pay off. I really hope that that is the case for me, because we're 6 years in, committed to this now. 50% of business owners earning less than minimum wage. Honestly, that is so difficult to actually read. Such a sad stat when you actually look at it, because most of those people will have set up their businesses with many hopes and dreams and aspirations, and hopefully for that 50%, it does pay off. The average age of a business owner is 51 years old. Now, this isn't actually a stat that shocks me too much, because I think when I got into business, everybody that I kind of looked up to or clients that I had, they were all of that age, even older. A lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that they had, and I learned, so much from those types of people in business that I looked up to. I'm actually not shocked to see this stat, but we have all these milestones and markers that we've got to have built a business or hit a certain revenue by 21, 25, 30 years old, as if by 30 that is just some magical cutoff that you can't possibly do anything else beyond that. Most business owners that have really done well for themselves and shown or had all of their hard work pay off, they're normally around this age, 40s, 50s, 60s. It takes a long, long time to build a business. And most of those people that you would talk to at that age have been running a business for so long. And that's why, at that age, they then see the success that they do. So there's just a few of my absolute favorite stats when it comes to business, and a reminder that business itself is incredibly difficult. That's probably the sentence that I say the most on this channel and across all of the videos. And a reminder to you that you are probably doing better than you think, and you're certainly doing okay in business. If you are struggling with getting clients, with marketing, with running a business, then we do a Q&A show right on this channel. So make sure you drop any questions that you have in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them on the next episode. Other than that, if you found this video helpful, enjoyable, or any of the other content on the channel useful, then make sure to hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.